The morning light filtered through the guest room's heavy curtains, casting a soft glow across the bed where Jungkook sat, his knees drawn to his chest. He hadn't slept much. Taehyung's words from the garden, "You're too important," replaying in his mind like a restless melody. The billionaire's vulnerability, his fierce protectiveness, and the weight of his secrets had left Jungkook torn between fear and a growing, reckless desire to understand the man behind the empire. He was in deeper than ever, and the realization was both a lifeline and a tether. A soft knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. "Mr. Jian." And Miss Lee's voice was calm, professional, as always. "Breakfast is ready in the dining room. Mr. Kim asked that you join him." Jungkook nodded, though she couldn't see him, and muttered a quick, "Be right there." He slipped into a fresh sweater, still his own, a small rebellion against the estate's polished world, and followed the hallway's familiar path to the dining room. But when he arrived, the long mahogany table was empty, save for a single place setting and a tray of pastries, fruit, and coffee. Taehyung was nowhere in sight. Miss Lee appeared at his side, her tablet in hand, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Kim was called away for an urgent matter," she said, anticipating his question. "He'll be back this afternoon. You're to stay within the estate grounds today." Jungkook's stomach sank, a mix of disappointment and relief. He wanted to see Taehyung, to unpack the tension from last night, but the space gave him room to breathe. "Thanks," he said, sitting at the table, his fingers tracing the rim of the coffee cup. "Does he ever slow down?" Miss Lee paused, her usual efficiency faltering for a moment. She glanced at him, her sharp eyes softening slightly. "Really?" she said, her voice quieter than usual. "Mr. Kim carries more than most people realize. This estate, the company, his legacy, it's all on him." Jungkook looked up, surprised by her candor. Miss Lee had always been a model of professionalism, a silent cog in Taehyung's machine, but now she seemed almost human. "You've known him a long time, haven't you?" he asked, his curiosity piqued. She hesitated, then nodded, setting her tablet on the table and sitting across from him, an unexpected gesture that made Jungkook's brows rise. "Since he was a boy," she said, her voice tinged with something like nostalgia. "I worked for his parents before, well, before things changed. He's always been driven, even then. But he's also alone in ways most don't see." Jungkook's chest tightened, the image of the young Taehyung in that hidden room's photo flashing in his mind. "He told me about his parents," he said softly. "Not much, just that they betrayed him. Chose power over loyalty." Miss Lee's expression flickered, a mix of surprise and sadness. "He told you that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "He doesn't speak of them?" "Not to anyone." She studied Jungkook, her gaze searching. "You're different, Mr. Jian." "He's different with you." Jungkook's cheeks warmed, his fingers tightening around the coffee cup. "I don't know about that," he said, his voice uncertain. "He's so closed off. One minute he's protecting me, the next he's shutting me out. I don't know what to make of him." Miss Lee's lips curved, a faint smile. "He's a man who's learned to guard his heart," she said. "But I see the way he looks at you. Like you're a risk he's not sure he can take, but one he wants to." The words hit Jungkook like a quiet thunderclap, stirring the confusion and longing he'd been trying to suppress. He wanted to ask more, to unravel the mystery of Taehyung through her eyes, but the sound of footsteps interrupted them. Taehyung appeared in the doorway, his dark coat still on, his expression a mix of exhaustion and intensity that made Jungkook's heart skip. "You're back early," Ms. Lee said, standing smoothly, her professionalism snapping back into place. "I'll prepare the security briefing." Taehyung nodded, but his eyes were on Jungkook, piercing and unreadable. "Later," he said to Ms. Lee, his voice low. "I need a moment." Ms. Lee inclined her head and left, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. Jungkook stood, his hands shoved in his pockets, suddenly hyper-aware of the space between them. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice cautious. Taehyung didn't answer immediately. He crossed to the table, his movements deliberate, and stopped just close enough for Jungkook to feel the weight of his presence. "We found Hana," he said, his voice low, controlled. "She's talking. Yoongi's people are backing off, for now. But it's not over." Jungkook's breath caught, relief mixing with unease. "That's good, right?" he said, searching Taehyung's face. "Why do you look like it's not?" Taehyung's gaze softened, just a fraction, his eyes flickering over Jungkook's face. "Because it's never that simple," he said, his voice quieter now. "Every move I make, every choice, it's a risk. And you." He paused, his hand lifting as if to touch Jungkook, then falling back to his side. "You're the biggest risk of all." Jungkook's heart raced, the air between them charged with unspoken tension. "I'm not trying to be," he said softly, his eyes locked on Taehyung's. "I'm just trying to do this right. For my family. For you." Taehyung's expression shifted, a flicker of something raw, vulnerability, longing, crossing his face. "I know," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "That's what makes you impossible to ignore." He stepped closer, his hand finally reaching out, his fingers brushing Jungkook's cheek, the touch so light it felt like a dream. "Stay close, Jin. I need you safe." The touch sent a shiver through Jungkook, the world narrowing to Taehyung's eyes, his voice, his warmth. For a moment, he leaned into it, his resolve wavering, but Taehyung pulled back, his expression closing off as quickly as it had opened. "8," he said, his tone reverting to command. "We'll talk later." As Taehyung left, Jungkook sank back into the chair, his heart still pounding. Ms. Lee's words, "like you're a risk he wants to take," and Taehyung's touch lingered, a promise of something more. He was bound to Taehyung by more than a contract now, and as the estate's walls closed around him, Jungkook knew he was choosing to stay in this storm, no matter the cost.